Welcome, friends, to the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and I'm here to help you become the guitar player that you always wanted to be. This one today, this one is for the players. That's right, the long-time listeners of the podcast. We've been doing this since 2018. We have had so many people listen in. They start at the beginning, work their way all the way through. What are we at? 373 is what's going on today. And a lot of times when we get through a particular time period and move on to something new, something different, or focus on something, and we talk about seasons. Talk about this a lot in guitar playing. The seasons of a guitar player. I've had many. There was a season where I traveled a lot and I played in clubs and festivals. There was another season where I started a group lesson studio. There's another season where I focused on rhythm guitar a lot. I had another season where I focused on lead guitar a lot. I had a songwriting season. I had a season where I went to school. I went to university. The life of a guitar player goes in seasons. What you do for a short amount of time may not be what you end up doing constantly all the time. The whole picture when I started Play Guitar Podcast was to have a two-part thing, have a lesson part and then a creative part, right? So we had the lesson, and then at the end, you might remember from the early ones, I tried a couple different things, but I was doing something, was it creating a band or something like that? So I would do some recording, I do some playing, I do some writing. And that was the idea for this. And I quickly found out that you have to have your act together to be able to do all that stuff. Have all those different things going on all the time. You got to get it together to make it happen. And so back then I had to make a decision, and I made one. I focused on you. I focused on the content, the lessons, and I focused on the academy. Those are the things I've been, that I doubled down on and put everything else to the side because that was the most important thing at the time. But now I've grown. I'm growing a beard. I've grown. I've learned a lot. I know what it takes to get to this point. And things are moving along pretty nicely now. So I've got a handle on things pretty good. And so usually when that happens, it's time for a new and an exciting season for me and for all of my online content, one of which is starting to play out again, which you probably noticed from the title. So performing, playing out. So let's take a look at that. I started playing when I was 12, but I started playing out around 15, maybe 14, 15. That was all I wanted to do. I had to do it. Everything I thought about, everything I did was to do that. And life happens, and, I never stopped playing guitar ever. Never. But I did stop performing out and going. I focused on family. I focused on the business. I switched bands, all of those kind of things. But, you all know what I've been doing since the past 6 years. But now I'm back there again. I'm there again at 54, right? I'm ready. And if you are one of the many, many players who started young, and maybe you put the guitar aside, or maybe you, like me, kept playing the guitar, but you would go in and out of playing. What made you decide to pick it back up again? What made you decide it's time to start doing these things? What made you decide it's time to go and perform? Was it the feeling that maybe you felt like something was unfinished in your life, that you started something and it didn't really get finished? Is it something that maybe makes more sense to you now? Maybe at the time you didn't understand the guitar a little bit, or you didn't understand what you really wanted to do, and now maybe you do. Is it that you feel like you're missing something in your life? Maybe you're missing music in your life. Is it something that has always been in the back of your mind? This is something I really want to do. Or is it that just you're a guitar player? You just are, right? Even though you've had to do other things, maybe you've always been a guitar player. I kind of feel that way, right? I can do a few things here or there, but the bottom line is I'm a guitar player, right? So I'm having a new season right now. So I've been getting ready to start playing again, start up a band. My wife's a fantastic singer. She's excited. She's going to get back into it as well too. And I'm starting to look. I'm doing a lot of stuff. I've put this in motion. Maybe this is something that you could do in your own guitar playing too. Have a goal. Set a goal ahead. I'm all about setting goals. I know when I don't set goals, they don't get done. So you hear this stuff all the time, especially if you're into like self-help and all those things, setting goals and all those kind of things. And when I see that something that everybody says, I start going, okay, right. But the truth is, when I don't set goals, nothing happens. And when I do, stuff happens. So it's that basic, right? So I want stuff to happen. Therefore, I'm going to set some goals to make it happen. So I've been getting things together, starting to look for a drummer, a bass player, and I think a keyboard player this time too. Any folks in the Orlando area know any great players, send them my way. I'd appreciate any info there because I'm going to be starting looking pretty soon. I've been working on a few sets of music with Lisa. I've got my pedal board together. That was the first thing I did. How I knew I could get the sounds that I need. And I want to play into a clean amp. I don't want to use the distortion channel on it, like on an amp and stuff like that. I want to make sure that no matter what amp I have to play, I can use my pedals there just to make sure I have something that sounds like me all the time. I've got a story for that too, maybe another day. Got my pedal board. It is together. I have my amps together and they're ready. Also, if I have to go direct, I'm ready for that as well too. I dug the old PA out of the garage, the old PA system, and it is cranked up and ready to go. I'm currently getting my guitars gig ready now. So when you're at home, even doing this, like that black guitar that I normally use, the pots that would go, if you would turn the tone control up, it was kind of short out here and there. So there's little things. And also in that guitar, I wanted to, I put a new bridge in and it didn't sit properly. So what I've done is I plugged the holes, put dowels in them and cut them flush with a flush cut saw. And I'm going to put the bridge back in again with the right spacing so I can intonate it. It was pretty close, but I wanted to work really well. So currently that's what I'm doing. I'm getting my guitars gig ready. What's my minimum to be able to play out? I need to have 2 guitars that work, that are gig ready, that aren't half broken. I got plenty of the half broken ones, right? But I'm getting my guitars gig ready, and that's been a lot of fun. I've got all my old tools out, and I've been having a good time on my wiring diagrams and everything. But all these things are the obvious stuff when you're getting ready to start out. If you're thinking about playing out again, or this sounds like something, I don't know, maybe you hadn't thought about it, but maybe it would be great for your life. Maybe I could inspire you to do that. I'm going to be sharing my journey with you as we go. Not every week, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe, or I may do a special. Who knows? I may do a special thing too. But you just might want to take the trip along with me. And if you did, it would make me feel awesome. I would love that, to hear, hey, we're all getting this thing together. There's going to be some new people out there playing, and maybe I had a little bit to do with that. So I'm seeing this moving forward in 3 parts. 3 parts to get ready to perform, to get ready to play out, especially if you haven't done it for a while. There's the mental part. There's the physical part, which is a lot of what we've been talking about, and then the musical part. All of those things have to kind of be pretty straightened out there. So let's talk a little bit about the mental part. What's the biggest issue mentally of playing? What's the elephant in the room? Performing, right? The people looking at you. The people are going to think things. They're going to judge you, right? And it's really easy to stay at home because nobody's judging you. Unless you're like me and put content out for everybody to see, then you get that anyway, right? But when you're playing, and some people, most people, when you're playing, they come in and they listen to you, and if they stop and talk to you afterwards, they say very nice things, and it makes you feel good. But not everybody, right? There's some people who don't like you. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you, right? A percentage of a large group of people are not going to like you. I know that. I do this putting stuff out there thing. But even in a small club, or, if you've got 50 people in there, it's going to be a percent of people who, this isn't for me. I don't like that. That's okay. That's okay. That's no problem. You're going to have to get used to that. But getting used to that is tough, right? It's much easier to stay home and do nothing. It's easier to sit around and think, one day I'll do that. And those days, you don't have anybody criticizing you. Nobody's maybe saying something unkind that you don't, or maybe you don't have to worry. Even if no one says anything, maybe everybody liked you, right? And the worrying about, well, maybe I'm just kidding myself, right? Maybe they might think something. So the whole problem is people. It's a people problem, right? Dealing with people. It goes along with the speaking in public speaking, right? I talked to a lot of people that they thought about, I couldn't perform. So, well, in your job, do you do any public speaking? Well, yeah, I run meetings and things like that. I've had to get used to that over time. They do that because they have to do it, right? This performing thing, you don't have to do it. You are putting yourself out there. You're making yourself a little vulnerable, right? You're wanting to do that. Public speaking for work, you're expected to do. Oh, here I go. You can kind of drag your feet. Oh, here I go. I'm going to do this. Okay. Well, here I am, everybody. But that's, you kind of got a hardened approach to that. But when you're performing, you're out there because you want to do it. There's no other reason that you want to do it. And when you do that, you leave yourself open a little bit. You can get hurt a little bit from that. And that's dealing with people. What about the motivation of playing out? For me, it was, I wanted to kind of climb the ladder a little bit. That was my motivation. We started in small places. I played places like the Buggy. It's right by where Delaware and Pennsylvania meet, these little bars, I played, and then we played the Deer Park, right? Which was a little bit bigger club in town. Then we played the Stone Balloon, which is even bigger club in the town that I grew up in. And then I moved different places. So I was traveling out, I was playing at different places. And then I wanted to go to what was the next step, and what was the next step. That was my motivation for playing out. Not the same as my motivation now. My motivation now is because it's something that's really, that was part of my life that I think I need to do a little bit more. Another thing mentally that is an issue when you're starting to play again is self-doubt. Worrying that you can't cut it, that you're not good enough, right? And some of that goes into worrying about what other people think. But another thing is, not trusting yourself that you can do this, that you feel, everyone else is better than me. And have you ever seen some of these people that are playing out there? That's what self-doubt comes about. That's the first thing I say. Have you seen some of these people out there that are playing? Have you done that? You can do this. You can do this. I've had a few people have that self-doubt thing, and they would come to me. And what I would say to them is, well, what's the requirement? What do you have to do to be able to play out? What are the requirements? Do you have to be certified to play in a bar or to play at a coffee shop? Right? Do you have to have documentation? Do you have to have your papers? Do you have to have, people vouching for you? Right? No. What do you have to be able to play out? What do you have to do? What's the only thing you have to have? Songs, right? I would say 30 songs. Then you can play pretty much everything. You can play small stuff, big stuff that lasts for an hour, stuff that lasts for 3 hours, right? The 30 songs. If you have 30 songs, you're allowed to play out. Now you just got to find some place that will let you get up on their stage, right? You can do this. And, is it going to go perfectly? No. You see me looking at you. It's not going to go perfectly. The first gig you play will not go perfectly. It won't. And it'll be great. You'll be down about it. And then either you get over it really quick, or if you're down after your first gig, by the second time when you force yourself to get up there and play and it goes better, you'll be exhilarated. It'll be 100 to 0. It'll be all this and all positive and all negative for a little while until you get this under your feet, right? Until you feel like, hey, yeah, I can do this. I can play this. And even on a bad day, I can still make it through, right? Forcing yourself to get out there, realizing you're going to think these things ahead of time, and realizing that one thing that you have that maybe some other people don't is that you're going to keep trying no matter what. That's dangerous right there. It's somebody who keeps trying no matter what happens. Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter if I go up there and fall on my face. If I go up there and I do it like I did the one time I sat in with the band and didn't know that they had tuned down, played a whole song, tuned up when they were tuned down. Did that make me stop? No. I laughed it off. It's a good story. But if you're the type of person who, even if you're not the type of person, you just decide that I'm going to do this no matter what happens, I'm going to keep doing it. No matter what happens, I'm going to keep doing it. This self-doubt thing starts to go away over time. Yeah, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to do it. First time, not so much. Second time, a little bit better. Maybe third time, bad again. Fourth time, maybe bad. Fifth time, great. Right? It happens like that. How about frustration? Knowing the things that you have to play, you have to do, the things you have to deal with to play in a band. You're dealing with people. Not only are you dealing with the people who you're performing for, you're dealing with the people at the venues that you're going to play at. You're going to deal with the scheduling and the people in your band. And, when you're in a band, I've never been in a band that everybody thought the same way, that everybody was pointed in the same direction. Everybody has a different idea of what they want for that band. And there's always somebody who's really happy with it and always somebody who's not really that happy with it. It always happens there. So that can be very frustrating. Are you going to just say the first minute you get a little frustrated? Or are you just going to say, that's it. I'm back in the basement, back in the bedroom, right? Expectations is another mental thing. This was one that I dealt with too. I had expectations of what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to climb the gig ladder, get better gigs, and then for some seasons it would go down. I was playing okay gigs and I was down to not so good gigs. So dealing with that, how are you going to deal with that when things aren't going your way? Is playing music enough? I think it is. Even if you play for 10, 15 people, if they're having a great time and they're enjoying it, that's enough. That's enough for me. How about the physical part of getting ready to go out and start playing again? The one I've been dealing with is gear, getting my gear together. Because you're not home. You don't have all your stuff there. You don't have backups. You have to make sure you have the backups and take them with you. You have to make sure that, like for what I'm dealing with right now, that your guitars will make it through a night. They won't be crackling and popping and cutting out and all of those things. They're not fighting you. They're set up in a way that works too. Getting the gear together. I know when I would play gigs, and this is all kind of coming back to me since I'm putting this into motion now. When I would play gigs, I would be stressed. I would be stressed right up until the last second before we started. When you're at home and you're thinking, okay, I got to be there at 6:00. I got to load in. I need to have all of my stuff together. Do I have all of my stuff? I don't know. For a while, I had a list of things that I would put together. And then at some point I just had certain gear that I took to the gigs, and that would sit like in the garage, separate from my other gear. So I never would have those mixed together, because that way, if I had a gig, I could just go to the garage and put all that stuff in the car, the van, and then go. And I know I had everything that I needed. But having backups is an important thing. Backups, knowing that, remember that story I said I was going to tell you? So I was playing in a festival in Wheeling, West Virginia. I may have said this on the podcast before. I don't know. Sonny Landreth was one of the acts there. He's one of my favorite guitar players, and we and we loaded in, and I was playing. I had my pedal board, and they had a Fender Twin for me on the stage, and I plugged in. Everything was going good. We started the show. First song, bam! My pedal board goes down. One of the chords was bad, or one of the pedals was bad. I had no idea. I tried everything, and nothing would work to keep the song was still going on. I unplugged from my pedal board, plugged straight into a clean Fender Twin, made it through that song. I think maybe I was able to get like maybe a tube screamer or some sort of drive pedal that had a battery in it off of my pedal board and just plugged into that only, right? But of course, when all that's happening, you're freaking out. And then I looked down over to the side of the stage where people were coming in, and there was Sonny Landreth walking in there. One of my most horrible moments. And there he was. You know, he wasn't paying any attention. But, you know, the people who you admire, you don't want to stink it up real bad in front of them, right? So getting your gear together, making sure that you have a backup when things go wrong, right? Rehearsals, finding a rehearsal space, playing rehearsals. How loud are you going to rehearse? Some rehearsals can get very loud, and is that very helpful? I always thought that a quiet rehearsal was really important in the beginning, and then you only do loud rehearsals right before you play the gigs, especially if you have a big gig. So we'd have quiet ones, and then we had a full out one, dress rehearsal, I guess you could call it, before we started playing again, or for whatever we were preparing things for. Band members. The constant revolving band people coming in and out of band members. Are you going to have a band? Is everybody going to be equal in the band, or is it your band and you would just hire guns to come in there? How are you going to do it? What's the way you have to think of these things ahead of time? Endurance. Here's a physical thing. Endurance. How have you played many of these nightclub gigs where you start at 9 and you're done at 1? How you feel at 1? It's rough. It was rough in my 20s, you know. Now I'm not 20 anymore, right? So how am I going to do this? So okay, maybe I need to start getting in shape a little bit to be able to play these, to be able to make it through. You know, if you're just standing and not moving around, you think, oh, it'll be easy. No, it's not. Just standing there holding a guitar from 9 to 1, tough. Right? You're on your feet the whole time. It's tough. Technique, physically being able to play the guitar. Playing at home, you're sitting down most of the time. Playing out, you're standing up most of the time. It's totally different. Unless you do something like the way where I've set my strap. I don't have much difference between standing up and sitting down. Right. So you have to take that in consideration. Musical things. Now let's talk about how do we prepare for this musically? Getting your repertoire together. Having your set of songs. What are you going to do? Are you going to be an original band? Are you going to be a cover band? Are you going to do a little bit of both? Right? Are you going to play songs just for you? Are you going to take the audience's opinion into consideration? Right? How are you going to do this? Every single one of those things I just said, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no one that's better than the other ones. I love some bands that don't care at all what the audience thinks. They're just playing for them. And I also love some bands who really make a good show that they know people are going to like. But these things are thought out ahead of time. These are things that you need to be thinking right now in the stage that I'm in. What are we going to do? My thinking of this is that one of the things that I want to do, this fulfilling for me, is to play some instrumental guitar. That's one of the things I loved doing. I used to play like Allman Brothers tunes where I would play both parts at the same time. I would play some Eric Johnson stuff. Though that style of music, I love doing instrumental music. So the idea here is during the first set, for those of you who played these nights where you're doing 3 sets, the first set, so it usually is pretty rough, right? So what I thought is I'm going to start doing some instrumental music in the beginning, the first set, and then we'll have the band stuff from the second set on. So I'm excited about that, and we'll see how it goes. But it to me, it sounds very exciting there too. Dynamics, right? So we've all of us who started as teenagers and started playing, we were at the top of the dynamic chart. Adrenaline, that natural adrenaline you have as a teenager, and you've got the guitar and you've got the amp, things get loud, right? So thinking about that, what are the dynamics going to be in this band that you're putting together, right? How loud and how quiet? Are you going to have something that's always loud all the time? You're playing just like some heavy rock stuff, and how loud is that going to get? Or are you going to allow yourself to get as quiet as you can possibly get and as loud as you can possibly get? Like a Pink Floyd or something like that. So thinking about dynamics and how you're going to deal with that, especially if you use a lot of distortion, are you going to have medium and light drive for those lighter times instead of having your super saturated lead sound that has a lot of hiss on it that you'll hear when the band comes down, and growth as a band too. How far do you want to take this? How far do you want to go with this band? Are you just happy to play, some small places? Are you happy to, get some better places? Do you want to do, originals and play in theaters like that? Or or you'd be happy playing covers and playing for people who just enjoy it? Where do you want to take this, and how are you going to start where you are and make it to that? Plan your way over those things. So these are the things that I'm thinking about right now. And I hope if you're thinking about maybe putting a band together, or even if just you might be just like Rusty and starting to play some open mic nights, and then working from that into who knows where it's going to go. So please think a little bit about some of the things that we talked about today. And if you're interested in maybe dipping your toes in the water and maybe starting to perform, this might open your eyes a little bit as to what you've got ahead of you, right? I've been through this before. I've been through this a few times, so I kind of know what's ahead of me here, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to share it with you. Oh, so I just finished the YouTube video today before I started this, and the topic for this week is slow blues open string solos, right? Using open strings in your rhythm. Using open strings for fills, for leads, all those kind of things. And the free guide that I was directing people to at the end of that is my free blues course called Blues Solos, Get Your Blues Solos Under Control. And this is the very first one that I ever did. I still have it available for you. If you haven't got it, it's a really good way to, if you're lost and you think your blues solos are just kind of not working out and you're not sure what to do, it's a good place to put your foot down and say, okay, this is my starting point right here. It's over at freeblueslesson.com. And I'm going to call it. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you have benefited from this podcast, please leave a favorable Apple Podcast review. That is the best way to make sure we get this very valuable content to more guitar players around the world. And if more help, structure, and results in your guitar playing sound good to you, what you waiting for? Head on over to Play Guitar Academy. There's all sorts of cool stuff over there. I'll be over there. You can join the world's most exciting and carefully planned system, and together we will build your online home base for guitar. Thanks again. I will see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.